Hey guys, it's Jeff and welcome to today's video. So this is a video I really wasn't going to do, but today we're going to talk about is the newer RAD 2020 lineup. And the reason I wasn't going to do this video is because typically RAD doesn't change their models all that much from year to year. Sometimes they'll introduce a new model like halfway throughout the year, like they did this year with the RAD Runner and things like that. But typically the models themselves don't really evolve all that much. I mean, every model has had some minor upgrades over the years, but this year I think they've done some pretty cool improvements, at least good enough that it warrants making this video. So I figure I'd just take you along on the website and sort of show you what they changed, share some of my thoughts and opinions on that. So the first big change that was announced this year is the Rad Rover Step Through. I think it's probably the most major redesign that they've done to the Rover ever, and I'm really glad that they did. To be honest, I don't really like the look of the Rad Rover Step Through. I don't like step through bikes in general. I don't think that's a very sightly thing, but I mentioned in a few of my videos before, and I stand by it, the Rover is very, very big. So I'm almost 6'1", and I feel like I'm at close to the minimum height that you need to be comfortably ride a bike like this. I know Rad says you can ride it from like 5'8" and upwards. I would say 5'8" to 5'10" is sort of stretching the limit. 6 feet I feel is really the height that you need to be at to be comfortable on a Rover. There was always the Rad Mini available and other options that you could go for that were a little lower that you could go if you weren't quite that tall or you didn't feel comfortable, like you were 5'8" or something and you weren't too comfortable with the Rover. Sometimes you want the full-size wheels, you want the full-size everything, but you're just not quite tall enough for it. And I think that's really going to open up the market to the people that were looking for that kind of bike. And I'm really glad that they did, that it opens up this whole lot of possibilities for a lot of people that really would have been sort of halfway between a Mini and a Rover and they were sort of torn. I think this is going to help a lot of people sort of decide if they're going to lean more towards a Rover now or towards a Mini. Again, it depends really on what you want to do. The Mini now, I feel, has a better slot in the lineup, where before it was sort of the bike you get if you need to fold it and transport it easily, or the bike you get if you wanted the Rad Rover but you can't really fit on it. Now with the Step Through, I think that the Mini is going to be more focused towards people that need a bike that can fold more than people that are too small to ride a Rover. It comes with full fenders now. That's going to be a theme, I think, in all of the upgrades this year. A lot of the new features, they're just across the range, so don't be surprised. The full fenders now, they come on all the Rovers as well. And I'm going to get back to that a little later on the video, but I'm sort of divided on this and I'll explain why in a little bit. The new Halo headlight for optimal side visibility, I think it's pretty cool. You don't see it so well here. If you go back to the startup page, you can see it a little better. So now they got this sort of a center light design with a halo. I think that looks pretty cool. Apparently they've done it so the side visibility is a little better. I've actually reached out to Rad to understand a little better how this worked. Originally what I thought this was going to be is more like the BMW Angel Eyes, where the halo could act as sort of a DRL and then you could light up the middle portion on demand to actually light up where you're going. As it turns out, it's a one or nothing kind of deal, so I guess it makes sense too, because you wouldn't necessarily want to drain the power with the halo, but I wish it would have had like a two-step thing where you could just have the halo or just the actual headlight or both. I've also asked them if this light was going to be available for purchase as a separate accessory and if it could fit on the bike. They didn't actually say that it wouldn't fit on the 2019s and before, but they did say that they weren't going to sell them as a separate accessory. So I'm tempted to believe that it will probably fit on a 2019 and before. This will have to be confirmed by someone who has a hands-on experience with it. If you can get your hand on one of those, I'm curious to see if it would fit on the previous bikes or not. They've also made some changes to the throttle design, so I think that's going to be pretty cool. A new finish and decals. It's not a major change. There's no color scheme upgrade really. It's still white and orange or black and orange. I kind of wish that there were more color options this year. Then again, black and white is still a pretty good way to go, and you can still wrap the bike, so that's not the end of the world. Then there are the upgrades to the existing models that we can talk about. I like that they've started numbering the bikes, so now the Rad Rover is on its 5th generation. So it's a Rad Rover 5, Rad Mini 4. So I think that's pretty cool. That's going to help out a lot when you're trying to figure out which bike you have and the differences between each of them. Not that it makes any functional difference, but I just think it's pretty cool. Other than that, the two changes I think are the fenders and the halo headlight. So we've already talked about the headlight, the throttle, and the finish. So those comments that I've made for the Step Through are really applicable to all the lineup. I guess now I'm going to talk about the fenders. So this year, the Rad Rover 5 is going to come stock with a full fender kit. And I'm sort of on the fence about this, and I'm going to explain my reasoning. So on one hand, I'm kind of happy that it did that, because up until now, really the only way you could get the fenders was to pay the extra 125 Canadian dollar for the option, and they were out of stock like almost always. So whenever you would try to get fenders, it was really, really complicated. On the other hand, I'm sort of curious as to why suddenly Rad has decided to include the fenders free of charge. The price of the bike hasn't really changed, and they're basically cutting themselves off of 125 almost guaranteed dollars upgrade and profit, basically, because these fenders must be like a few pennies to produce. So by not selling them at $125, it feels like they're voluntarily giving up 125 bucks of pure profit, which either leads me to believe that the Rad Rover needed something to increase the value proposition, or they've decided to cheap out on other things to offset the price of those fenders. The other possibility I could see is that they actually got some better deals on other parts, and the actual cost of the bike to them is lower now. They figured to just include this to add a value proposition without really having a loss for them. And on the other hand too, I'm not a big fan of these fenders. Personally, I've always thought they were kind of ugly, and I had never ordered them for my bike. I think the bike looks a lot better without them. I sort of wish that was the kind of thing that they would just offer as an option. So I mentioned that in a few videos, but I really wish that Rad had a few options that you could tick when you order the bike. You'll notice again that they haven't changed the brakes, the weakest link in all of the value proposition, and they still got these Tektro mechanical brakes going. If they were going to upgrade something, that they would upgrade the brakes and leave the fenders alone. I mean, obviously a lot of people like them, and I'm not saying you shouldn't get them. I'm just saying I don't like them. And having them stock now, it means that if I was going to buy the bike in 2020, I would basically sell the fenders, which is sort of a good thing, right? Because I could sell them back on the Rad owners group or something to someone who wants them, and they're always out of stock. I would have rather had a $100 price cut than having to take them off and sell them myself. But then again, that's just me nitpicking. I mean, it's still nice of Rad that they've increased the value proposition of the Rad Rover, so I sort of wish that they did it in a way that was closer to my original idea of having options there. And imagine if you had like a Rad Rover base for like 1,500 Canadian, and you could choose the brakes you would want to put on them. You could choose the fenders or no fenders. You could choose different battery sizes. Those wouldn't be very complicated to implement as options. And that would just make, in my opinion, the bike a whole lot easier to get into. Whereas now you're sort of stuck with whatever they give you, and you have a choice of white or black. When I think about it, when you look on the website, the Rad Rover 5 is only available in black, it seems. I'm kind of curious. They say new finish and decals. This one was black and white. This one, it looks like it's just black and black. Maybe they've foregone the white bike. That'd be sad. To be confirmed. Rad Mini sort of has the same changes that I mentioned. Full fenders. It looks like they've upgraded the tires, updated the handlebar. That's pretty cool. Got the headlight too. Kind of the same deal for the step through. Rad City, all new frame design. I don't really see much of a change, but cool. Rad City step through, not many changes again. And then returning for this year are the Rad Runner 1 and the Rad Wagon. So that's about it for me, guys. As I said, this was just my hot takes on the new changes. I thought I'd make a video talking about that. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. And until next time, peace out, guys.